Planning Board. We have 4 people remote, at least one, 4 people here, at least one remote, and another member is supposed to be joining us. This is our Tuesday, March 28th meeting. The first item will be to approve the minutes of March 14th. We don't have any A&Rs, do we, Jean?
No, we do not.
Okay. At 6:35, we'll have a public hearing on the modification of site plan for Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings LLC, 195 to 201 Charlton Road. And you'll be reading the public notice, so we'll get to that. At 6:45, we have Drake Petroleum Extramat, 215 Charlton Road, a continuance of a waiver of site plan request. At 6:50, we'll continue our public hearing on the proposed zoning amendments for the floodplain district. After that, we'll have the town plan update, and then old and new business adjournment. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes of March 14th?
Yes.
Do we have any comments, questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve as submitted? Dane?
I have to abstain.
You'll be abstaining?
Second.
Second, okay, great. And we'll do this by roll call since we have a remote. Sue?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Dane?
Yes. Abstain.
Abstaining. And Wally?
Yes.
Great, okay. We have a few minutes before 6:35. Anything you want to cover in the town planner update?
Yes, I can let you know, we held the pre-construction meeting for the interstate towing site on Wednesday. It was actually done in 2 parts. The erosion controls were done right before the snowstorm, and those were all inspected so that they could start clearing the lot. We had our pre-construction meeting Wednesday, went over traffic details, safety, reporting requirements, and the lot is basically all cleared. There were people out there today doing some work in the road, surveying for utility connections. So that project is moving along very, very quickly.
Great, very good. Okay.
Do you have anything else? Just a reminder to those of you that have not completed your conflict of interest training and the acknowledgement, that needs to be done as soon as you possibly can. There's a new portal, and we are not having very good success rate. As of last week, only 78 people across the organization had done the required training. So if you haven't, please do. For those of you that have done that already and sent us the certificates, thank you. And that's probably all I have that I can do that quickly.
I just did mine last week. It was a lot of fun. I encourage you all to do it.
It is, yeah.
She keeps looking over at me. Noticed.
It's as
lot of
far
them
as I
are
can see with my reading glasses on, so.
A lot of them are sort of common sense questions, even if you don't read the background. But then if you do get it wrong, it gives you another opportunity right away.
And there is a different training now if you're a board member versus employee, which it used to just be all the same.
Right.
So they do kind of break that up. We have different scenarios now than you. So,
Yeah, when it first was done, one of the issues was it seemed to be, written almost for healthcare workers, and was anything close to what we'd be, asking questions about. But it is more focused now, so hopefully everyone will take that training.
you can't speed up and zip through it any longer either. They took that functionality away from us seasoned town employees. So you have to listen to it every year, even though you've done it for 36 years.
Okay, I have 6:35, so we will read the public hearing notice.
In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Central Office Building Meeting Room on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, at 6:35 p.m. on the application of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings, LLC, 131 Buckingham Street, Suite 301, Hartford, Connecticut. The applicant requests modification of an approved site plan for the property located at 195 and 202 Charlton Road. Specifically, the applicant seeks modification to remove conditions of approval related to the installation of a signalized intersection which were required in the site plan approval granted June 22nd, 2021 for the Noble Energy project, and to modify the permit to allow temporary access per plan submitted and final transportation mitigating improvements as may be approved by Mass DOT for this location. Mass DOT has been working with the applicant and has determined the signalized intersection previously approved by the town is no longer adequate based on their latest control evaluation criteria. Mass DOT is now recommending investigation of a roundabout. A copy of the site plan and application can be inspected at the Sturbridge Town website at sturbridge.gov/planning-board/pages/recent-filings. Or arrangements can be made to view the application packet by contacting the Sturbridge Planning Department at 508-347-2508. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted in person and may be conducted via remote means if circumstances warrant, in accordance with applicable law. This means the members of the public body, as well as members of the public, may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting.
Very good, thank you very much. Jean, would you like to give any update or introduction as to how we
Yes.
got here?
So first, Brad has arrived. Brad, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks. So yes, I will, actually, when I'm going over this, I'm going to make Jared the presenter. Jared, I'm giving you,
Thank you, Jane.
you're welcome. So yes, so as the board's aware, you approved a site plan approval in June of 2021 for Noble Real Estate Holdings to construct a travel plaza and an EV Discovery Center. And as part of that process, we went through a traffic analysis and a peer review, among many other things, but I'll stick just to that one for this evening. As part of that, the applicant's traffic engineer at that time had recommended a signalized intersection be installed at the driveway and Route 20. The peer reviewer concurred with that, and we approved the permits with those conditions in place. Since that time, the applicant has been working diligently with Mass DOT, as has Solely Engineering, town staff. We've actually had Senator Fatman's office and Representative Smola's office involved as well. And Mass DOT is now not inclined to approve the signalized intersection, and instead are requesting that the applicant review and install a roundabout in this location. So because I put those conditions in the permit that you ultimately approved, we need to be here this evening to modify the permit, because they will not be able to move forward without modifying that permit. So my recommendation this evening is that we delete those conditions specifically related to the installation of the signalized intersection in favor of a condition that basically says subject to Mass DOT approval. And with us this evening, we have Michael Frisbee, the applicant, Kevin Soley from Solely Engineering. Online, it looks like we have Jared Height from Solely Engineering and Colleen Byrne as well. I've given the presenter rights to Jared, and he will take you through the slides. And I'm not sure if Michael or Kevin would like to say something to start, but that's basically kind of the very brief overview of a very long
At
process.
this point, or?
So just for the record, my name's Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the Commonwealth. I'm also a professional traffic operations engineer. Gene did an excellent summary, so that was the overview. I'll hand it over to Jared. He'll just kind of run through some of the plans and talk about some of the changes, and then here to answer any questions the board may have about our discussions with DOT and all those fun goings-on.
Great, thank you very much.
And I think Jared's having a camera problem, so we just see those three dots flashing instead of his handsome face.
I don't know what's going on my camera, and I'm wearing my best tie today, too, so I'm kind of disappointed. All right, so here I have shown the aerial image of the site at 195 Charlton Road. to the south side of Charlton Road, and to the west, we have I-84. Next slide. So originally, the commission approved a gas station and EV center that included, as Gene mentioned, a traffic control signal at the main site driveway with Route 20. And here was the site, and here was the location of the proposed traffic signal. This is the main access driveway, and there was the proposed exit-only driveway here. But, however, throughout the design process with the DOT, in the review period, DOT required, based on their intersection control evaluation program, that a roundabout be selected, as they believe it's a more safer and more efficient treatment for the Route 20 corridor rather than installing an additional signal. So therefore, we came with modification to the site plan review. And here is an image of a roundabout concept, with further coordination with the DOT, rather than waiting for the roundabout to be fully constructed, we have asked and requested that the gas station be open in advance of the roundabout, and which will include a stop control main site driveway as an interim period. And that will be this condition here. So at the main site driveway, we will have stop signs for users to enter and exit Route 20. And again, the exit only site driveway will remain, that is to the east of the site. And that is it.
Okay.
Any questions?
Jeff, do you have any questions or comments?
I'll leave it here at the roundabout.
Is there any idea how long it'll take? I mean, from the time that Noble will open to the time that the roundabout will be started and completed, what is that time frame?
Well, so as the commission probably, or the board probably knows, if you drive by, the gas station is pretty much constructed. The length of time to fully design and go through the construction process for the roundabout could take, 12 to 18 months. So there will be this interim condition. I think the EV Discovery Center is kind of the next phase, so I think that will probably move forward potentially too. But there could be a period of, 12 to 18 months where the gas station would operate under that interim condition.
Okay. Just a quick question. I mean, is this the roundabout concept they're considering now? Because
Yes.
wasn't it at one point they had a double one?
So, yeah, so the review process with Mass DOT has been lengthy and extensive. We've kind of gone through a number of iterations through their DOT access permitting and finalizing all the MEPA Section 61 findings. We've kind of evaluated a couple different options, and we believe this is kind of the most compact design that can meet their design guidelines. And this is something that they're looking at for the whole Route 20 corridor, along with other parts of the state. But they are looking to try to create some of these, and they look at these as traffic calming measures as well, slow down the speed, really improve the traffic flow throughout the corridor. So this is, and one of the things that is actually, you can see on here, part of their complete streets process is that we're actually including, multi-use trails on both sides of Charlton Road. They're trying to really encourage that, so there's, means for pedestrians and bicyclists and things like that beyond just the vehicular movement of vehicles. So this actually includes both of that, and this is the most compact and tightest version that we've been able to come up with them.
Quick question on that detail. Is there any separation between the pedestrian and bike activity in the 2 lanes of Route 20 in this compact version?
There is, yeah, that trail is, you can see on here, there's obviously the travel lanes, and then there's a curb, and then so that's raised. So that's a 10-foot sidewalk outside the travel way.
Okay, so it's 10 feet wide, it's raised 6 inches?
Yes.
But there's no landscape separation?
There actually is a small, I think it gets a little bit tight on one side, but no, there actually is a shelf, a shoulder in between the walk itself and the travel way.
And have they provided any feedback that this is definitely their preferred?
Yes.
Okay, because,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you must have gone through an awful lot of work for that double one that you, the peanut
We-
shape one that you did.
We did, and this has been, the DOT has been, they've been, I think this is a new direction for the Mass DOT. I'm not sure I'll ever see a new signal in the Commonwealth. I think they're trying to push for this from an access control standpoint. And we kind of went through a number of different iterations, and they had to go through their complete streets review, and it's a long and lengthy process, but we have ended up here. And we think this kind of meets all their objectives.
Okay, thank you. Dane, any other questions? or-
I'm sorry, Jeffrey, you all done?
No, I'm done, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does this include Hull Road in any way? I know that was originally part of why we had, I think the peanut design was trying to capture the Hull Road intersection.
That was something that we had looked at with them, and tried to evaluate something, if there was something we could incorporate into Hall Road. When you actually really look at the traffic volumes through here, there's, the traffic volumes on Hall Road are less than actually what's anticipated to come out of, through this roundabout between both the gas station, the EV Discovery Center, and then across the street from our site with the bank. We've went through that with them, and we looked at those volumes and these volumes and how to potentially manage both, and the right-of-way impacts were kind of too much for that. There's a little bit too much separation between those two intersections, so this is kind of where we landed.
Okay, so just to be clear, you were saying that the volumes of the EV Center, the gas station, and the bank exceed the volume of Hull Road, kind of is what you were
Correct.
saying?
Yes.
So Hull Road is not included in this roundabout DOT conversation any longer?
No.
And so people at Hull Road would need to take a left across 4 lanes of Route 20 traffic coming out of a roundabout?
Which they do today.
Agreed, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure I understand what we're talking about.
Yes, that's correct. And one thing that the DOT has represented to us is they're doing a larger corridor study through this area, through Route 20, where I think they have ultimate goals of, potentially revisiting how the access comes on and off of Route 20, with a lot of the driveways being able to cross over, 2 lanes of traffic in both directions. So I think in a longer-term plan, they may be looking at larger wholesale changes to access management, but I think that they're looking at this as really like their first step from an implementation standpoint, and thankfully, we're here with a willing applicant who's willing to help contribute to.
Right, and to your point, this Hull Road is not part of the applicant's property or access or anything. It's just nearby and, to your point, a little bit distant from, so.
Correct.
considered, But discounted.
And there's other private property also in between this development and Hall Road too, so it just kind of created additional challenges with trying to coordinate.
Clarify how I understood that.
Yep.
Now, with the interim condition, there was an extension of the pedestrian access across our exit-only driveway on the is that the eastern side? See, there's a crosswalk and then a receiving ramp.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, Jared, if you could go back to the roundabout, that feature disappears. Understanding everything up to the DOT, I assume that's just kind of an oversight that would be accommodated as a receiving
That's
ramp?
correct.
Okay,
That's correct. Yeah, we would maintain those pedestrian paths in both conditions.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry, Jared, if you could jump back to the interim condition. When this intersection was considered to be signalized, there's a number of vehicles that could pass through in both directions for each timing sequence. Now we have vehicles exiting from that primary drive, making a right-hand turn seems pretty easy, taking a left-hand turn seems a little bit more difficult. Signal allows X cars to take a left per hour. Interim for 1.5 years, which might become 2 years, we don't know. How many vehicles can go left? And is that stacking queue length adequate?
So there will be some, like in most driveways on a lane like this, there will be some stacking of vehicles onto our property. Thankfully, we have sufficient room to accommodate all that queuing on that property. It may not stay within the limits of that short stretch of driveway. It may extend, in front of the the station itself or over towards the EV Discovery Center. I think if there's ever an event or anything like that, there'd likely be additional access management, whether it's a flagman or a police officer or something like that, to kind of handle that large outflow of people leaving.
Would one of those things potentially include just using the rear intersection and just making that whole throat be queuing if it was necessary for a larger event?
Absolutely. Yes, yeah, there's certainly ways to manage it. The good news is that there's adequate room on site to accommodate all those vehicles. And, any congestion will be handled on site and not impacting, the vehicles traveling on Route 20.
Agreed. Jared, could you please go to the roundabout? Now, in this condition, with vehicles exiting Route 20 with the difference between the posted speed limit and the actual speed that we all see every day, cars in the right-hand lane exiting into the site will be traveling at some speed and entering a portion of the roundabout that'll be posted at a lesser speed and then exiting the site almost immediately. Is that travel distance appropriate at those speeds, or should that intersection in this condition be reevaluated?
Well, so the overall geometry of the roundabout is something we've been working very closely with them and the DOT's team. As you can kind of see, there is some, geometric modifications to those lanes to, one, raise awareness that this is coming, for one, and you're going to see it with adequate signage up and down the corridor to know that this is here. And then when you approach that approach speed into the roundabout, it does, encourage to reduce the speed. You're not going to be driving through this intersection the way that you were than its existing conditions. So, we do believe geometrically this is going to meet all the Mass DOT's requirements and their design manuals and AASHTO and everything else.
And so, do you have like a guess of what the speed limit would be inside the roundabout?
Jared, I'm not sure. Or even,
Yeah. So the design speed for the roundabout is supposed to be for 25 to 30 miles an hour. So those advanced warning signage will be well in advance for the roundabout to alert drivers of its location.
Okay, so 30 miles an hour, and then there's a driveway throat. That makes sense. In my gut, it seems like you could slow down from 30 miles an hour to that first intersection and take a left into the gas station without going up on two wheels. Does that feel right to you?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the other direction, if you're at the EV Center and you want to head towards the roundabout, you take a left at that intersection. In the geometry as shown, the car would have to travel across a number of stripes that are very small at the scale, but when I was looking at it on the PDF, it looks like it would be traveling through the dividing yield area of the roundabout geometry. So I know that the exact geometry needs to be refined a little bit, but I don't know, Jared, if you can zoom really far in on the striping in that intersection.
Excuse me, Dane.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing, I understand this is, very good to be talking about this thing here, but I mean, I really, meeting for tonight is to talk about, the other plan on this thing. I think he's bringing this forward to let us know that this is something in the future. But, I mean, there'll be plenty of opportunity, I believe, to review this when it does come forward. We're not approving this.
Well, I think we actually are, because the DOT obviously is dictating that we manage our access in this manner. So this is, as part of this application, is we are looking to modify the conditions so that the full future access will be this roundabout configuration. And again, it is subject to final detailed design and approval by the DOT. But from a geometric standpoint, the DOT basically took their best roundabout designers in the entire department and put them on these plans. So, why I appreciate the comments. Yes, if you're leaving out of the gas station driveway in the roundabout and you want to go towards the highway, you're going to come out and then kind of, meander through. And yes, there will be vehicles approaching eastbound or northbound from Route 20 into that roundabout configuration, and then they're going to have to follow the appropriate yield control signs.
Can you use that?
Sure.
Can you do that?
So you're talking about this maneuver?
I'm actually less concerned about once they're in the right-of-way, which, I think just for everybody, the blue dotted line is the proposed property line in this configuration, right?
That's correct, yeah. This is all, will be right-of-way dedicated to the DOT.
So I completely understand and appreciate that within the blue boundary, that's DOT purview. I'm not trying to get in those weeds. I'm saying when you're inside the property at the EV Center, you take that left, that vehicle inside that four-way intersection right there, it's not crossing like a double yellow line. And I'm a little bit splitting hairs, but I'm mostly building to the point that if we're striking conditions, I'm wondering if we need to make interior site modifications, because the town and the planning board, I believe, have the purview outside of the blue boundary. And these notes say no interior modifications proposed. And I'm wondering if that needs to be evaluated, and if maybe these conditions shouldn't be struck wholesale, or we might want to strike them with a little finer of a, whatever that analogy
So
needs to be.
I just want to note that the internal, that's not pavement markings where, you know, it's not a double yellow where if you're exiting the EV Center and taking that left, they're not crossing like a gore area or anything like that. That line work is not pavement marking. That's just like one of the, it's like a tracking feature that's indicated on this roundabout design that it won't be there on site.
Okay, so these aren't actually pavement
People-
markings. These were simply part of our geometric design as we worked through it with DOT.
That actually does help me.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
only feature that they would experience is that raised curve
Which is,
island right there.
which is here, right. So this striping won't actually, this stop bar will be here, this stop bar, but this striping is more of the geometric alignment of these lanes as they enter into the site. So this actually won't be striping.
That clarifies my question.
Correct.
Thank
Thanks, Jared.
you. I think I'm good.
Okay, great, thank you, Dean. Sue?
My only question is, as was explained about the blue line, is that state property now, or is it going to be taken by the state?
So the black lines here represent the existing right-of-way.
Correct.
Those blue limits are what the DOT is essentially requesting to be deeded to them as part of this design and construction.
Does that interfere? I'm just trying to get a better picture of what's going on here. Were the bank and the,
Seven Hills?
Seven Hills. Oh, so it's not anywhere near where the U-Haul rental place is? Across from Hall Road?
Oh, no.
It's up the other end.
Right, correct. So, yeah, so the bank is here,
Okay,
in this location here, their existing driveway is here. We're maintaining their access, but we are doing slight modifications to it, but from an operation standpoint, it doesn't affect their parking lot or their other operations. It's just, you know, we're going to have, as we reconstruct Route 20 to accommodate the roundabout, we will be doing some work and working with them to incorporate their access into this new roadway geometry.
okay. And how about the other building that's affected? That's next to the bank?
It's just the driveway, and it's a very minor modification to their curb line shown here.
Even though, okay,
This is the office building, right?
it's over there, okay. All right, thank you.
Wally, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I'm impressed with the design. I have no comments at all, except that it's easy to follow. And right now, I'm looking at it, to see where people get in and out of. And people leaving out of the Seven Hills, if they're going to be going towards town or going back up towards Walmart, they're probably going to have to be heading, taking a right out there, doing a loop around the rotary and going back up to Walmart, and then, which is the safest way to do. So it seems to be well thought out. I have no questions, no comments other than that.
Thank you, Wally. Brad?
No questions for me. I agree with Wally. I think it makes sense as far as the plan that they've laid out here for the modification, so no questions.
Okay, great, thank you. Jeff? You have some other
Yeah, was there
comments?
any, in this design, any projected traffic volume data for purposes of the Amazon warehouse coming in?
We did include the Amazon warehouse as a background generator, and there's also another distribution facility that's being contemplated up the road. So all those volumes were included in our overall analysis.
All right, what's what's the difference that you saw in terms of percentage increase?
You know, those I don't have those numbers off the top of my head.
Was there an increase?
Well, there was an increase in traffic, but I'll say that from a distribution standpoint, those traffic generation is generally speaking much less than, much more intensive retail developments or things like that, so.
Okay, thanks.
And this is designed to fully accommodate any heavy vehicles and things like that. They're going to be coming through the corridor and continue to come through the corridor.
Very good. With that, I think we'll open up the public hearing to the public. If you have a comment, if you just identify yourself for the record. Anyone would like to
You have to use the mic, too.
use the microphone, please?
Brad, I'm just going to mute you. We're getting a lot of background from you.
Oh, I'll meet it.
Thanks.
My name is Paul McCarthy, and I own the property just due east of, on the EV Center, basically, on the south side of Route 20, the veterinary, right there. And so my biggest concern is, I think those commercial entities on the north side of 20 that can take that right and go around about and turn around and go east on 20 have a certain, at least plan B, right? Instead of going into the road and crossing all lanes of traffic to take that left. Our situation is going to be a little bit different because we could either take the right and go up towards Walmart because we're right adjacent, or they've got to cross all 4 lanes in order to take the left to go towards 84. And I know the studies, and this may be a done deal, but I'm just going to speak my piece in it if you don't mind. But the situation that I see is most of the accidents, and I see a lot of them. I mean, we have a couple in front of our place, probably 4, maybe 5 a year, something like that. Most of them are down by the Cracker Barrel, and they're not fender benders. They're they're big accidents. I don't think he's going to do anything for that, in my personal opinion, because people are going to come out of that roundabout and try to make it up to 20 no matter what. It's not going to change that. My other issue is that I can see where this would help if I own that particular property, EV property. This would be great. I got an entrance right into my driveway, and I got an exit right out of my driveway. You can go roundabout, you can go either direction. Right now, I don't think anybody's done the studies on 5 days before Christmas on Route 20. I don't think anybody's done it as soon as Thursday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on May 31st, all summer long. Route 20 is the mirror image of the Pike. If the Pike is busy, Route 20 is busy. Ways, everybody's got ways or other means of mapping out a better way. And we find those people leaving our entity, our driving parking lot, crossing and going left, going towards the 84 interchange, is extremely difficult and unpredictable. Now, this may change. I don't know if people are going to come out of that traffic circle and go faster to make up time, or if they're going to do what they've done before. But it is not easy to predict how to get out of that driveway that we're coming out of. And again, these are engineers smarter than I, but I don't see this helping near as much. And I shouldn't say that. It's going to help that entity considerably. It is not, and it's going to help maybe the bank, and on this side, again, on the north side of 20, because they can take, if they want to go left, they can take that right roundabout and turn right around. My employees and people that we have coming in are not going to be so blessed. I think this is I don't see this as being a big help. I don't think it does anything for really the crisis that I believe is in front of the Cracker Barrel. I mean, you don't have to go farther than the safety complex to get the stats on that. And this may help. Maybe we need another one somewhere else. I don't know. But anyhow, I just want to state my concerns for it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. One of the things I'd like to, point out that the town hasn't exactly ignored this situation. I mean, even 15 years ago, the town took its own money and hired a consultant to deal with this whole issue, to look at this corridor, well before a lot of this development even was planned or put in. And the report was given to the DOT, and we've tried over the years to work very proactively with them to try to solve this problem. After that, we had another situation where developers were coming in, and so we actually put in a plan where they would contribute toward an overall study and improvement for the Hall Road area, even if they weren't directly related to that. And we worked on that for quite a while. Most recently, Mr. Frisbee here has spent quite a bit of money on what started with the approval based on his engineer and our peer review engineer that a signalized intersection would work here, and the whole thing was proceeding along that direction. They said, no, we're really into these roundabouts. So a single was designed, 2 single ones were designed. His engineer had to go back and go through this peanut design that Dane mentioned. And now, other than seeing these drawings, this is the first I'd realized that now they're back to the one thing. So I understand your concern, and we all have had this concern about this whole corridor for many, many years. The reality of this situation is, though, we have somebody who has been planning for quite a long time now to bring these developments into town. And, we're at the point where we've at least, got to approve the idea, or should approve the idea that, from what we understand, that intersection that will occur prior to this construction of the roundabout without a signal will serve the needs of the portion of the development that is ready to open. So that's really where we are today, I think.
If I just make.
Sure.
Quick, I love that something's going in there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's been a little bit of a blight, that area,
Sure.
since I've owned the property where we are. And so I'm really excited about that happening. But I just want to make sure that.
Sure, no, I understand your concerns.
I think this might be good, but I think it may impact me negatively.
Right.
You can do much about it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Mark Fancy, 20 Bonup Road. Kind of mirror some of your comments. I think without having the full Mass DOT plan in effect and implemented at one time, I think a single rotary put in right now is a disaster waiting to happen. With all the, what we got, 3 million square feet of distribution going in Charlton. I see all those trucks coming down 20. No one's going to follow that 20, 30 mile an hour speed limit in that roundabout. They're just going to tear right through it. And when you start putting weekend and summer traffic in the air, Thanksgiving traffic, that's going to be blocked all up. Make a big parking lot in there.
Okay.
And our police department will be going overtime along with our fire department.
Thank you. Okay. Could we put the other drawing up that shows what we're really basically going to be dealing with for the next 2 years?
Jerry, yeah, there we go. The interim plan?
Okay, so, I mean, this is really what we'll be dealing with for the next few years until Mass DOT comes up with the additional funds required for the roundabout, or are they expecting you to build a roundabout?
They're actually expecting the applicant to build the roundabout. I'll speak to
Okay.
that a little bit. So we had applied for, or I applied for a MassWorks grant to help offset the cost of the installation of the signalized intersection. And in 2022, we were granted $250,000 in October for design of the intersection. So they, even though I had applied for construction, we received funding for design. In that, our proposal was to design the signalized intersection. At some point in that process, Mass DOT indicated they would not approve the design for the signalized intersection, and they wanted a roundabout designed, and that I should contact the state and get our grant changed to be able to fund the design of the roundabout. So that's what we've done now. So that $250,000 is, of state money, is being applied basically to design something to state specifications, namely a roundabout. The anticipated cost right now, we're probably over 4.5 million. Mr. Frisbee has pledged 1.5 million, and he always has from day one, said he would invest $1.5 million in traffic mitigation measures. So at this point, we're up to 4.5 million. The state has suggested that we apply for additional grant funds to fund this, so I am currently working on another MassWorks grant application to fund this improvement. And to the comments here this evening, we know this is just one piece of this. There was a road safety audit conducted in 2016 that had an awful lot of recommendations that need to be implemented along this corridor. But this appears to be where Mass DOT wants to start the process. And I think it's because they have a willing participant with 1.5 million. So we're not quite sure how we're going to get the remainder. It's pretty clear that Mr. Frisbee can't afford to foot that entire bill. So I would say if we don't get the funding, I hope not, but I think we could be at risk of losing the EV Discovery Center if we can't manage to pull the funding together. So that's, I think it's, it's Mass DOT's highway. They're the ones with the approval authority, and we're doing our best to work with them and to try to develop the plans and come up with the funding to design what they need. In addition, as you could see in the earlier rendering of the roundabout, it's not completely contained within the right-of-way. So there would need to be some land acquisition there. So either, working with the property owners across the street, who some are here this evening, time will tell on how this all goes. So this is, modifying the permit is allowing them to be able to open the EV Discovery Center and allowing all of us to continue our work with Mass DOT. But they ultimately they're the ones that will approve the intersection, not necessarily us.
Right.
So the interior of the site will not be changing, and it's all subject to their approval, how they control that intersection. And I know it's frustrating. We feel your pain. I've been sitting in those rooms for a long time. We all know there's a lot to be done, and, this is just one small piece. I guess that's my best explanation that I
That's a
can
very
give.
good explanation. Thank you very much, Gene. I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions on the public?
Melissa Baker. I'm one of the owners of the office building across the street. It's a beautiful project. I think it really would bring a lot to our town. I just would like you to explain the second exit coming out, how it currently is. There'll be right and left-hand turns. If the engineer maybe could explain that.
Yeah. Sure. So, yeah, that is proposed to be a full movement exit driveway to the north, kind of near the office building.
Across the street from the office.
Yes, yes.
So, I'm sorry.
Exit only.
Exit only to the right, or you can come out and go both ways?
You could come out and turn left. However, I think, like any of this, I think there's going to be a driver awareness. And, once the roundabout's installed, all those vehicles are going to go to the main driveway to go south on Route 20. In that interim condition, again, it is a proposed an exit only, but it does allow for right or left turns.
I just might want the town to consider, until we get the rotary or something, maybe just a right-hand turn only on the other exit, because across the street, I'm pulling out both ways as well. We have that one, we have veterinarian, it's just, and cars are coming fast. Yeah, so maybe just something to consider. Just putting that out there. Thank you.
Is that something you'd like to further comment?
Well, I think we'd respectfully request to maintain that ability to turn right and left, because that does provide another more direct egress for anybody using the high-speed diesel fueling. So if those tractor trailers, again, they have to wait for that appropriate gap in traffic to be able to take that maneuver, but we do want to allow them to take that left towards the highway.
Okay. Any comments from the board on that suggestion? Okay. Good. Any other comments or questions from the public?
Thanks. I agree that it does need to be a wait for the gap. It's the gap that I have the concern if the rotary eventually is to the west side. I don't think there's going to be that gap, to be honest, time-wise. And certainly going the other way, unless you're gonna put a rotary here and then put another rotary due east to allow people to take a right and then and spin around in a figure eight and come back. That might make things work a little bit more, but you'd have to put rotaries just everywhere. Up by Walmart even, putting one there so that you can just take a right and then zip around and come around without waiting in that light to Walmart. And I still am concerned about just the level of traffic during certain times of the year.
Sure. Well, thank you very much.
I'll say that that is something the DOT is considering in their longer-term corridor plan and study. They are looking at those types of improvements.
Won't do that. The state is the state thing. Okay, any other comments or questions?
I have one quick
Sure,
question.
go ahead.
The 4.5 all-in number, is that all site work and lane work, or is it property acquisition? Should every applicant in the town of Sturbridge who touches Route 20 expect $5 million for access?
I'll speak to that. So the numbers are rough numbers. We don't know yet because it's not fully designed. And I do expect that any applicant on Route 20 will be going through the same process. I'm currently working with an applicant across from Cracker Barrel right now, the 3 homes that are there. There's a developer that's been looking at that for some time now, and they've been dealing with Mass DOT for probably 5 or 6 months, trying to figure out what they may allow, because they don't want to end up in this situation where they have an approved plan by the town and can't really, at the end of the day, build it. And so they are putting them through analyzing even the Cracker Barrel intersection at this time. So I do expect that. The 2 warehouses in Charlton were required to pay mitigation. They had to do mitigation at their own driveways, and then they also had to contribute, I think it was roughly $340,000 for transportation improvements on the Sturbridge side of Route 20. We're not sure where those improvements, what will be done yet, but that was for the Picker Road, Fisk Hill Road intersection area that was identified in the 2016 road safety audit. So yes, I think short answer to your question is we have very little land left. We have this site and we have the land across from Cracker Barrel, and I expect every applicant or every significant change of use to go through this same process, which is why in the future, when we have this, I had sent an email to the board. I don't think it's prudent for us to do a peer review on the traffic as it meets Route 20, because we ultimately have no say in it, and ask applicants to pay thousands of dollars in peer review costs as well. So yes, long answer. But yep, I think this is the way we're going. I think they realize Route 20 has really gotten to be a problem, and they're looking for developers to help pay.
Gotcha. And I guess just for the scope and the price, like 5 million, 4.5, it's like for all the site work and or is it in like, there's a big ticket for land acquisition, like?
That does include estimates for land acquisition. And when you think about, this roundabout, this isn't just something we plop in on the existing geometry. This is a wholesale reconstruction of this roadway along the entire property frontage and extending in both directions to a period of time so we can provide the appropriate tapers and things like that. So this is
Tight spot in this right of way. It's narrow, it's around a curve, it's already an awkward position.
It is, but it's full utility relocations, it's drainage upgrades and improvements, it's a wholesale road reconstruction. So that's what, this isn't just doing some widening on the shoulder and things like that. We're reconstructing this entire roadway. So it is, so again, I think that does, hopefully that can address some of the concerns about the traffic speed, and I agree, those are valid points. And the signal itself, from an existing snapshot, that creates platoon breakups, right? That stops the traffic when there's a red light. But what the DOT is looking at is from a much bigger, wider lens, and how do you actually really improve the geometry so that we're not, you have to almost remove yourself from what happens today, because it's going to look very different when this is done. And I think this is, again, a first step for them to really take a much larger wholesale look at how vehicles move through this corridor.
Right. And if I recall, when the concept was going to that peanut shape, sort of a double roundabout, the land acquisition was really much more
Even more.
significant than this.
Yeah.
I mean, it really amazed me at how much they needed to take to actually make that thing work. Which is maybe one of the reasons they moved away from it, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Great. Okay, any other comments or questions from the board? Anything from the public? If not, we have a motion to close the public hearing? Second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Sue? Yes. I vote yes. Dane?
Yes.
Yes. Wally? And that's a yes. And Brad?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Jean, you have a recommendation?
Yes. So I would recommend that the board vote to delete condition 3 and 8 on the original approval, renumber as appropriate, and insert a new condition number 8 that states, "All access to and from Route 20 and all traffic mitigation measures and pedestrian improvements on Route 20 shall be subject to approval by Mass DOT. The applicant shall provide the final design plan and access permit to the board for its records. The marked up conditions can be found below." That's not part of the condition. End of condition.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Could I make a slight modification?
Sure.
I'm wondering if we can acknowledge that we're gonna revise the roundabout plan to include the receiving sidewalk on the other side somehow, however that
Sure.
needs to be documented. And then similarly, acknowledging that all access is subject to DOT approval, is there some way that we could mimic the language of the former bullet point number 7, I guess it was, that said the sidewalk should be constructed? Can we say something like, the applicant should pursue a sidewalk, comma, subject to DOT approval? Is that substantially the same, but,
Fine, sure.
okay.
Wait a minute, Dane, I have to catch up with you. I'm taking minutes and...
You're doing a great job without Janae.
Sure. All right,
At the
so,
very bottom of your proposed conditions of approval, you had added a new number 8, I believe
Yes.
it was?
yes,
Just above that, the former number 8, now number 7, it said a sidewalk should be constructed.
yes.
And I'm hoping we can grab some of that language and put it into the new proposed number 8 and say the applicant should pursue a sidewalk subject to DOT approval. Something to that effect?
Assuming you're fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Wait a minute. And then you had some additional language on 8.
No, I'm okay with 8. I think I just wanted to add the sidewalk.
Add the 7,
part,
okay.
yeah.
Sure. And Jared, actually, we talked about that, and I said, oh, I think I covered it, so guess I didn't. All right, I'm good now.
Okay, so you made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. A roll call vote?
Yes.
I vote yes.
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 Wally?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Sorry, whose motion was that? I got
It
Dane's
was
second.
Dane and second by Jeff.
Jeff, thank you. You can tell I haven't taken minutes in a while. Not with
easy-
trying to keep
not
up with
easy to
all this,
listen and
too.
take notes. It's
We
very
need a few
difficult.
more arms.
I do. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you for coming. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Drake Petroleum Extramat at 215 Charlton Road, continuance of waiver of site plan review. The applicant is requesting a waiver of site plan to install a new 10 by 20 foot shed to store dry goods at the convenience store. Jane, you want to give us an update on that?
Michael, I just made you the presenter if you want to bring up your plan. So this is the Drake Petroleum, as you know it as the Extra Mart location, and they are proposing some modifications. They will be becoming an all-town, and they have gone to the design review committee and are proposing some signage updates and some facade updates. But additionally, the health department and the fire department have had some concern with the lack of storage inside of the building. So they've suggested they install a storage shed if possible. So that is what they are proposing this evening, is to install a storage shed on the property. Michael will go over the plan with you. And this, just to note, this has not yet gone to conservation. It is within the 50-foot, but, and Becky was not sure if a waiver may be granted for that. But if anything changes, the applicant would need to come back.
Okay.
All right, Michael, you're all set.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'll just, I'm gonna kind of zoom in a little bit here. So the proposed location where we're looking to put the shed is actually to the right of the current dumpster enclosure. This area right now is actually about half grass area, half pavement. So if you follow along my cursor, it's kind of covered up right now, but the pavement line actually comes in a bit and then continues down the guardrail here. So the idea would be we'd actually eliminate some of the pavement to install a 10 by 20 shed to the right of the dumpster.
Okay.
And this shed will have siding and a roof to closely match the building aesthetics.
Great, okay, thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, no questions.
Nope, no questions.
Sue?
No, I have no questions, except I'm wondering if it's outside the 50-foot buffer, why does it need to go to that commission?
It's actually within the 50-foot, no new structure.
Oh, it's
So
within it.
It's within the 50.
Okay.
So it is a disturbed area on the edge of the parking lot, so they do need to file with the commission. Becky had noted in her comments that she was unsure if the commission might be able to waive the requirements because it was in a developed area. And if not, then Michael's aware he'll need to come back with a revised plan for us. But as long as I would recommend that you approve the proposed approve the waiver of site plan to allow the proposed shed, and if the location changes based on Conservation Commission approval, that new plans be provided to the board for its records. I wouldn't recommend that they have to refile as long as the shed meets all the setback requirements, if the board's comfortable with that. So,
Okay, does that
Thank
answer
you.
it? Good, okay, thank you. Wally? Any questions, comments?
Yeah.
All set? Brad?
No questions.
Okay, great. Can we have a motion then to waive site plan on this?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Jeff, second. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, Sue?
Yes.
I vote yes. Dane?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Wally?
Yes.
And
Yep.
Brad?
Yes.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Michael. Sorry about the wait.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Okay, and now we have a continuance of a public hearing for proposed zoning amendments on the floodplain district. Jean, do you want to go over that?
Yes. So this hearing was originally opened 2 weeks ago and was continued to this evening due to the snowstorm. And these are the proposed modifications that we needed to make to our bylaw as recommended by the floodplain administrator for the state. And this goes along with the new FEMA maps, which have been prepared for the town. So the FEMA maps, the preliminary ones arrived last June. We've been doing a lot of outreach and working with residents and the lake associations to make sure people understood where the new boundaries were. So these proposed modifications are very minor. And so the first one would be to amend the floodplain district bylaw by updating the effective date. So the current date is July 16th, 2014 for the maps. The new FEMA maps effective date will be June 21st, 2023. And the maps also need to be adopted at town meeting so that people with flood insurance can retain the insurance, and so we can remain a member of that program. And then also, the state has recommended a few other changes to just update the bylaw. So they're recommending that the language in 300-3.4 floodplain district D be stricken from the bylaw, as it is redundant with a newer section they've proposed we add in G. And then in 300-3.4, G, subparagraph 3B, we would actually insert the language in zones A1 through 30 and AE along watercourses that have a regulatory floodway designated on the town's firm encroachments are prohibited, including fill, new construction, substantial improvements, and other development within the adopted regulatory floodway, unless it has been demonstrated through hydrologic and hydraulic analyses performed in accordance with standard engineering practice that the proposed encroachment would not result in an, can't speak tonight, increase in flood levels within the community during the occurrence of the base flood discharge. And then the next section that they're proposing we amend is 300-3.4, G12, to delete the existing language and add, when proposing subdivisions or other developments greater than 50 lots or 5 acres, whichever is less, the proponent must provide technical data to determine base flood elevations for each developable parcel shown on the design plans. And then finally, we'd be amending sections 300-3.4, subparagraphs 3 and 4, to delete the addresses of the Massachusetts NFIP State Coordinator and the NFIP Program Specialist, because they are in the process of moving their offices and they don't yet have a new address. So they're recommending we just strike that language. And then the same with the, in J, section J, subparagraphs 1 and 2, to also eliminate the address for the FEMA Region 1 Risk Analysis Branch Chief. And that would be it. So they're pretty minor changes to the bylaw itself. The major thing is adopting the new maps in time, which we will. The town meeting is the first Monday in June.
Great.
So we
Very
should be
good.
all set.
Any questions, comments from the board? All set on that? And the public, any comments or questions on this? Okay,
All right, so the oops, Wally or Brad, no?
all set there? So we
All
want
right,
to
so-
close the public hearing?
Oh, yes, sorry.
So moved. Second.
Sue, how do you
Yes.
vote? Yes. I vote yes.
I
Dane?
vote yes.
Yes.
Jeff? Wally? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Brad?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Go ahead, Gene.
All right,
Sorry.
so the appropriate motion would be to support adoption of the proposed changes to section 300-3.4 floodplain district as printed, and to forward the proposed bylaw amendments and map to the town administrator for inclusion on the annual town meeting warrant.
Okay. Do you want the motion?
That's-
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We already did this?
No,
Yeah.
you
She
closed
made the motion.
Right, right.
She moved it, but she also seconded her own motion.
No, I need somebody else to second it.
Somebody else seconded.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion now on that? Okay. Now we'll have a roll call vote.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
I vote
Dane?
yes.
Yes.
Wally?
Yes. Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Okay, great, very good. And Dane, I do want to apologize for interrupting you on that other comment on that. When I read that thing, I guess I didn't look carefully enough on the Rotary thing, that was
Oh.
actually part of the whole thing here. I thought we were looking at another concept they'd come up with later on, but I appreciate your comments on that, and I'm glad they were able to be made. And I
Sorry, that was
apologize
my
for
thing.
doing that.
Not a problem at all.
Okay. Gene, anything else on the,
Yes, I would just like to let the board know that Michael Chisholm has decided not to seek reappointment when his term is up in June. So there is an ad posted now for a new member, so if anyone knows of anyone that might have an interest, please have them apply. Michael will stay on until June. I think the only hearing process that we still have ongoing is the Blueberry Hill Estates, and so we'll just have to watch that. If they haven't concluded with conservation by the May meeting, I may recommend that the planning board vote while we still have enough members to vote. And then if any changes occur, based on the Conservation Commission review, they may need to come back for a modification. But I would hate for them to have to file all over again, because already Brad came after the process started. And then if we get another new member in June, we would.
Really limited, yeah.
And then Jeff's term is up in June as well, so. If
Okay.
he seeks reappointment, then he would, still be able to vote, but if he, for some reason, didn't, and Michael's was personal and professional reasons, he's very active with his children, and he's traveling a lot for work right now as well, so just things to bear in mind.
Okay, great. And that's it for your update? Very
It
good.
is.
Thank you. Okay, any old or new business, Jeff?
Nothing.
Okay.
I hate to keep us here any longer.
No, that's fine.
But under the premise of new business, Gene, you're spending a ton of time chasing money for this roundabout.
Uh-huh, I am.
There's a benefit to the town for new development, for jobs, for development. That's been a blighted site for the longest time. I'm excited to see it done. You're doing a lot for the benefit of, as other people pointed out, a limited number of frontage. I'm wondering if anybody else on the board has thoughts about that. Sue?
I do. I do, because I asked Charlie during our meeting about why are we spending so much time at the Noble Development area when maybe it could be placed somewhere else down on Route 20 or whatever, and it's not up to us. It's my
Not up to
understanding it's a
us.
state thing. It's so, that is understood, but I think the adjustments need to be made at the state level.
I would not disagree with that.
Is there a public comment period at the state level for this?
I'm sure they'll have to have hearings when they're at the,
Okay.
25% design, 75%
right.
design, 100% design, and that, there would be opportunity to comment at that time, but, this turned into something that none of us foresaw. I mean, it was, and I think that, the state's always looking for this public-private partnership, so when they had a developer that committed 1.5 million to a signalized intersection, they're now, leveraging that to make improvements that are more in line with their current policies. I guess that's the other side of it too, is, we approved this in 2021. He had already been working with Mass DOT. But, since then, their ICE analysis criteria, the intersection control evaluation criteria, is, as Mass DOT said to us, it's basically skewed in favor of roundabouts. So what they actually envision is a complete Route 20 corridor that is a divided highway with roundabouts to reverse direction. They eventually, I believe, don't want to see people crossing or if you're
Right.
heading east, taking a left-hand turn. I think they would like everything controlled by roundabouts. And the mitigation funds that Amazon project had to pay toward that Picker Road, Fisk Hill Road intersection, I had actually talked to Mass DOT and said, well, couldn't you do maybe a jug handle up by 49 or something? Because, where are we going to put all these people if they can only take a right-hand turn? So yes, I'm spending more time than I obviously have time for. I've been back from surgery for 3 weeks, and I'm ready to go out on another leave. Just kidding, but it's a tremendous amount of work, and it is, you can say that it's for one applicant, but it's really not. It's, an applicant came to us with what we believed was a good plan that was approved, and now Mass DOT saying, no, we need you to do this. So, like I said.
I don't mean in
yeah.
any way for you to do all this work and then me be like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. I just feel like you have 40 hours and one project is taking up a lot of it, a lot more than we'd expected. And a lot of other applicants get to a much higher confidence level with their access design before they come to the town. And it's unfortunate that these people are over here with, oh, we're built, we're ready to go. And a little bit, it's like, not our fault, not our
No,
problem.
I don't think they're saying-
I disagree with that.
And I disagree with
Yeah.
that as well, because this is the first time that the DOT has behaved this way. They had expectations after their peer review and their warrant analysis that this would have been much like all the other applications. So it's unfortunate, and I appreciate the help that you're giving them.
Yeah.
But I just learned that you're now modifying your grant application to pursue that. And I just feel for the hours that you're spending doing this. But to your point, it's in the betterment of the whole corridor, for the betterment of the whole town. I just wanted to briefly acknowledge and mention this. See if anybody else wanted to
No,
talk.
I agree. I mean, the thing is too, the grants do benefit, the whole community, which is why, the town can actually apply for them. The other thing about it too, it's fortunate that Mr. Frisbee has been able to stick with it this long. I mean, if you recall, when he first came in, everyone was enthusiastic about this. The state talked about how great it was going to be. And even with the MEPA plan, I mean, he went through
Yeah.
all kinds of things with that. I think it added another $100,000 to his plan based on, what the state brought back. So, it's great that he's still pursuing, the EV part of it. I still have a concern when you talk about the timeliness of it was really the critical thing, to be there with this center up and operating while people were in the mode to really be using it,
Right.
and it seems that from the meeting we had over a year ago about that, he maybe is losing that. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
things have changed, but
Yeah.
it's a point well taken, and the town is sort of in the middle where we do want to have good development. We have supported this, and it is unfortunate that DOT is maybe not changing their concept, but
Right.
more refining their contract that moves them away from things that only 3 years ago were acceptable. I think that's what.
I'll also say that personally, I am a fan of roundabouts. I think it is the right idea to have a divided road with roundabouts. I think if you had another roundabout at those 3 properties under development across from the other gas station, if you had roundabout, a slower corner in front of Cracker Barrel, and then another roundabout, that might actually be impactful. So I see this as a step in the right direction. So I apologize for slowing everybody down.
No, that's fine.
not
It's
at all.
important,
I
I
just
think,
want
to get
to
this out.
add one comment to that about him not being far enough along in the process. So the process is that they come to the town and they get approved and then go to Mass DOT. And that came about because way back, DOT was approving things that the town wasn't in favor of. So they'd maybe approve a driveway access at a point where we knew it was going to be a terrible impact to a street across from it or a neighboring driveway. So we kind of worked with them and, they said, no, they'll start working with us, but they'll go through the local process and then they'll come back to us. So he did everything exactly right as we were doing then. Going forward with the folks across from Cracker Barrel, I've kind of changed that and I contacted DOT and had conversations and said, I don't want to go through this again. Like, it's not fair to the applicant, it's not fair to us, it's not fair, to abutters, or people trying to sell their property. So now they've been working with Mass DOT, but Mass DOT is still saying, we still won't tell you yes or no. You have to go through the local process and then you apply to us. So they could be in the same situation eventually, but,
One nice thing is that's a wider right-of-way.
yeah, but it's got Cracker Barrel across from it, so, yeah.
But it does present us a problem, right? If we're approving something that then Mass DOT is making serious modifications to, we need to be cognizant of that in the future, right? Is there a way for us to give a preliminary approval, but be able to also modify that if we need to?
Well, that's kind of what we did this
I agree
evening.
with you. It's not today, right? But I mean, a big roundabout is a big change.
Right, over in a roadway that we have no control over, though. So I think that's the thing. You're approving site plan approval, and that site plan did not change. It's the connection with the state highway that
Right.
changed, which is
Right.
why we had to modify it this evening. So, yeah, it's been a challenge. It
Really has.
still is a challenge. So,
You're doing a great job. Thank you, Gene.
you're
Thank you,
welcome.
Jane. Yeah.
Thank you, Jean.
Any old or new business?
No.
Wally, any old or new business? Brad?
No.
Okay, motion to adjourn? Oops, I'm
He
sorry.
had
So moved.
anything?
What?
I didn't know
Oh.
if he was waiting because he wanted to ask a question or
I just
anything.
wanted to finish up.
Oh, okay.
Might as well.
Oh,
Entertain it for the day.
just making sure.
No, I
Thank you for
appreciate
coming.
it. I kind of have to agree with you about, I like the idea of roundabouts. I think the rest of non-roundabout areas need to be divided to avoid the leftovers. But we gotta get DOT to implement one change across the whole border
Mm-hmm.
and not mess things up like they did for 49.
Right.
Because they messed 49 up all last summer.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn? So moved. Yeah.
Second.
Oh, second, Sue, second, sorry.
Second.
All right, second. Sue, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. James?
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff? Molly? Yes. Yes.